May seem a little Buck Rogers-ish in terms of some of our traditional patterns of secondary education, but these things are happening and they're going to happen much more frequently. I'd like to call your attention to one concept this afternoon, and that is, in our effort to improve instruction, we are trying to take a coordinated look at the use of instructional space, our talent that we have available to relate to instruction, the time which we have available to provide instruction, and the emerging instructional technology which is available to us through our great industrial complex. I think within 10 minutes, I'm just going to be able to hit the surface, but I'd like you to catch in my slide the fact that in our district and in many others, we are looking at ways to utilize flexible space. In other words, the square classroom is rapidly going out of date. We're looking at ways to provide different kinds of teacher-student relationships which relate to more effective instruction, more efficient instruction. We're saying that with modern computer technology, we can use instructional time in the day and the week more economically and more judiciously. And then, of course, I don't need to talk to you about some of the impact of technology. Let me take you to the school that is pictured in the blueprint document here and focus for just a minute on the flexible kinds of spaces that we are providing in this particular school. This is the Humanities Center. I wonder if you could flip the light. The Humanities Center is the equivalent of 42 regular classrooms. It is a complex that will accommodate students in about 1/3 of their high school experience. Within this equivalent of 42 classrooms, we're providing what we call a dividable 300, which will seat 300 students at one time, or with a movable wall, provide simultaneous group instruction for up to 150 students. Supportive of this large group space are these pods which feature dividable 60s. There are 4 dividable 60s. These are 2-story pods, and dividable 30s. And because of the time limitation, let me simply suggest that there are 9 of these dividable 30s, which make available to the instructional program 18 small group spaces at any one time in the school day. There are 7 regular classrooms also available, the dividable 60s, which can promote some teacher planning and relationships here. And then supportive of this complex of flexible spaces are these independent study research carrels. There are 90 of these available to students at any one time. We've planned what you might call togetherness teacher offices, where teams of teachers and independent individual teachers have office space adjacent to teacher aid and workspace. We feel very strongly about the counseling program, which ties in with Dr. Bredevaux's comments about discipline. We have put, instead of in the administrative area, we have put our whole counseling program in the traffic flow of this facility. Upstairs, and this is a sort of an innovation in itself in California schools, we've tended to have neighborhood schools on a 1-story basis, but upstairs we have, a student can come upstairs here and not need to go down until he has gone over here. We have some square classrooms, a reading laboratory, and again, a complex of 42 classrooms. This is the Math Science Center, and just very quickly, it provides large group space where we can, in a minute I will rush over computer-generated schedules, but we can, for example, put 100 chemistry students in here, sift them out into separate 25-student lab periods, and then engage in independent study and research in these independent research cubicles. As you probably took chemistry in high school, you did your work and then you grabbed it all and threw it in a drawer and had to rush on. In this case, students may leave a research project up for a week, a month, or 2 months, or a semester. In business education, we have researched for 3 years the skill development program in typing. And we find that with 1 teacher and 2 teacher aides, highly skilled clerical aides, we can do a good job in skill development in typing. So we designed a large group typing space, which could also, by movable space, provide for 3 simultaneously active courses, secretarial training, office training, personal typing, and so forth. One of the things which we're looking toward relates to this space between 2 classrooms where there's a flow of traffic, is a business machines laboratory. And of course, as we can, we hope to move into such things as data processing and modern machines. Very quickly, I'm sure you're all conversant with this Trump plan idea, team teaching type plan, but let me just quickly review the fact that we are talking here in the utilization of these spaces in different dimensions of talent utilization. The teacher action frame, which places the teacher in the kind of role I'm playing right now in the information giving role to larger groups of people, is important, and teachers have some background in this role. Probably the weakest area of their background is resident with this teacher-student interaction in the small group frame, where it is required, where some extremely important skills are required to communicate, to discuss, debate, and carry on the dialogue and help students internalize ideas and concepts. And then, of course, we're striving in high schools, and we're not naive about this. We know that perhaps only 40% of our kids can really accept responsibility for their own learning to the degree that we would like, but we're hopeful that we can generate schedules which will give them independent time to follow through on the large group, small group, medium group laboratory complex of teacher-student relationships. Now, Dave, you better blow the whistle on me, but I want to say a couple more things. This is about time. This is one of the first computer-generated schedules for a comprehensive high school, and on this column you'll notice 21 modules of time. Teachers are now in a position to feed to a computer the kind of course structure they would like to use in the course of a school week. For example, a large group meeting once a week, 2 or 3 small group sessions in smaller groups, a lab session, and so forth. Just to give this illustration, here is an algebra program, large group on Monday with a small group follow-up in the afternoon, large group on Tuesday, nothing Wednesday, large group on Thursday, and a small group follow-up on Thursday afternoon. This structuring and sequencing of courses is in its pilot stage, but this has been accomplished by the flexible scheduling program at Stanford from a grant from the Fund for Advancement of Education. It's going into its 2nd year, and we see some tremendous implications for secondary education. One of these is the fact that you can generate into the schedule time for independent study by teachers or by team teachers to plan within the school day. This has a lot of implication for curriculum development and involvement of teachers within the framework of the school day. Here is a typical teacher's week at Marshall High in Portland, and perhaps you may think I'm digressing from South Hills, but we feel that the school represented in this brochure has probably the greatest current potential of any high school in California, or perhaps in the nation, to accommodate a flexible schedule or computer-generated schedule. This teacher, for example, has 4 lab contacts with 4 different groups of lab students in English, a 4-module or 80-minute period. 4 of these in the week. If you count them, he is responsible with his colleagues for 7 large group presentations of 40 minutes each. We've learned out of experience in our own district that an hour large group presentation is too much, and we can get our shot of information giving well into 40 minutes. Then you will notice there are 10 small group contacts this teacher has with small groups of 10 to 15 students. Then he has student conference time and team planning time. This looks a great deal different than the, shall we call it, lockstep 5 periods of contact with the 30-35 to 1 that we have in our traditional program. In concluding, I did this presentation for Dr. Fieltra's seminar last night. We did it in an hour and a half, and this is bringing it down within a very short time. But I would want to say that in trying to work with talent, with space, with time, we must not forget technology. This is a browsing space. This is Instructional Resource Center is at the hub of this campus. It provides a library for independent study and small group study, but it also has the potential of the electronic contact with all teaching stations on the campus. This is a small television studio with a videotape recorder. It makes commercial television material that's pertinent to the instructional program available for use at the time it's appropriate in the instructional program. There are gadgets on the market which can do away with the moving around of the 16-millimeter projector. You can selectronically feed to a machine at this point all the 16-millimeter films you might want to use in one day, and they would go out to the place at the time that you wanted them through this kind of electronic equipment that is now available. We can't afford it yet, but we have cabled to every one of our buildings from this source an electronic contact for closed circuit television, open circuit television, and other kinds of electronic contact. Now, I think in conclusion, I would say that school districts who are needing to build and looking to build new facilities, whether they be elementary, intermediate, or high, might well take one lesson from our book, and that is we did have the luxury of planning time on this facility, but we started out and involved our teachers in establishing educational specifications for this school from which the architects took their lead. We didn't say to the architects, build us a school. We said, let's look at the educational program first and then build facilities. I'd like to say that if this has whetted your appetite, we've already had 300 visitors at this school and it isn't even finished yet. We're hopeful of hiring a tour guide next year, and we invite any of you to come who would be interested.
Teacher education, a large project that the school is in the midst of. We've asked Professor Eric Lindman, Professor of School Administration, to bring us up to date. Professor Lindman.
Well, I'm substituting today for John Goodlad, who is the coordinator and director of this program, but who insists upon the privilege of having his sabbatical leave, at least for a semester, in order to kind of get a chance to think about what he ought to be doing here on the campus. He's been so busy with the general operational problems of getting the program underway. Let me say very quickly that the problem of teacher education, if you discuss it thoroughly at all, is extremely complex. We have to consider whether they're going to go to Covina and become flexible teachers with flexible buildings, or whether they're going to another school system and have a different kind of assignment. Or we have to consider all the ramifications that you must consider when you read Professor Conant's writings and the reactions to them. We have tried to narrow our problem down largely to the professional phase of teacher education. Not that we're unaware of the importance of all other aspects of the teacher's preparation, but this is the aspect for which the School of Education is uniquely responsible. The program divides itself conveniently into 3 phases. During the first 2 years, we've been doing some preparation and getting information that we will need in the long-term development of the program. We now have a much better plan of following up our graduates, and we hope to get back from the field some indication of how well they're doing, and so we can relate that to the information we have about them as students. Professor Fawcett is heading this up as part of his placement operation, and so we have a plan for bringing to us reports on how well our teachers are doing. We also have materially strengthened the guidance effort because we're quite convinced that One of the weaknesses of teacher education here, and I think in many places, is that we tend to treat the candidates as if they were all alike when they came to us. We make a speech in our classes about individual differences, and then we treat these poor candidates as if they were all the same, had the same backgrounds and the same preparation for the kind of professional training which we would give them. So we materially strengthened our guidance arrangements so we can notice and do something about the differences that these candidates have when they come to us. Now the second phase of the program relates primarily to the identification of the professional content or the professional training or preparation of the teachers. We are convinced, I suppose, one of the central ideas of our entire project is that not all of the teaching candidates should be exposed to the same kind of professional training, that we ought to have some variation in the light of their capacities and their backgrounds. For example, in the field of practice teaching, we are putting into effect next year an internship type program for a limited number of students. Now, it isn't with the idea of finding out where the internship program is superior to the standard practice teaching program, not that at all. Our hunch is that for some students, the internship type program with a full-time responsibilities will work out very well. And for other teaching candidates, the more gradual development of contact with classrooms and with teaching situations, which the traditional practice teaching program provides, is much more suitable. So our problem then is to operate and provide a choice so that there are two ways to get the practice that is necessary before a teacher takes on the regular responsibilities of teaching. So again, we're emphasizing that we should differentiate what we have available for our candidates in the light of their backgrounds and prospects. Then, as we get into the question of the professional content of the courses, we are now going through a rather intensive effort to identify just what is the professional knowledge that teachers need in order to carry out their responsibilities. I say knowledge, we've thought in terms of knowledge and skills and attitudes, but we've been emphasizing the knowledge component for a while because we think that needs to be clarified. For example, you start saying, what is it in the way of professional knowledge a teacher needs? Well, you might say that every teacher ought to be familiar with the nature of human abilities and the crude measure we have of it, the IQ tests and so on, what they mean, how to interpret them, and how to use them in a school setting. This is a piece of professional knowledge. Well, then if you go through all of the possibilities, just what is this knowledge that's so essential for teachers to have? So we're now going through a process then of identifying and evaluating the knowledge component of teacher education. Then we hope as a result of that we will differentiate our class offering somewhat so that when a student comes to us with a thorough background in psychology, he will not take the same kind of educational psychology that would be offered for a student who comes with virtually no knowledge of psychology. So we will have some differentiation in the kinds of classes we have for teachers. We think one of our weaknesses has been that we've tended to require all teachers to take certain common courses and have not differentiated them enough. So I could elaborate that, but that's the central idea, that we're searching for the components of teacher education. Then our final phase, which you'll get into possibly next year or late in next year, will be an effort to evaluate the various concepts and ideas that go into professional training of teachers, and then to organize them into some kind of a course structure or teaching structure to make them more effective. And then I guess the other part of the program emphasizes the search for more suitable clinical type experiences that teachers can have, so their discussions of about professional education will be more meaningful to them. This I can summarize it by saying then that we are in this second phase, the identification of professional content, which we will identify and hope to evaluate, and in the final phase we'll attempt to put that into some kind of a course sequence so it would be most effective, in the most effective way to make it available to our students. We have emphasized the possibility of individualizing instruction some, so that if students already have all this knowledge that we think is essential, then we wouldn't ask them to sit through all of the courses, but we would have them indicate this by some sort of an examination procedure. So we're in this middle phase now, and so we can't report anything startling to you, but we hope that within a year, next time you meet, we'll have a little better progress report to make, and I do hope that our director, John Goodlad, will be here to make it to you. I'm not pinch hitting, I'm substituting. You know, a pinch hitter, they always think will do something appropriate when he gets up to the bat. A substitute, they recognize they'll do the best he can, so I'm doing that for John today. And I'm trying to get through so my next long ball hitter will not deprive us of the privilege of our next important hour, which is scheduled for 5:15. Thank you very much.
It appears from this report that things are looking up around here. The other large continuing project that has concerned the School of Education is the Junior College Leadership Development Program, and Dr. B. Lamar Johnson has graciously consented to bring us up to date with that. Dr. Johnson.
Past time for adjournment. Accordingly, my remarks will be brief. Some 10 weeks ago, we received word from the W.K. Kellogg Foundation that we had been granted a 3-year extension of funds to help support the Junior College Leadership Program, which has now been underway for 4 years. This makes a total of a grant of $250,000 from the foundation to help us develop a program with two purposes. First, to prepare junior college administrators, and second, to improve junior college administration as of now and administrators in service. First, we have a doctoral program, the purpose of which is to prepare students for positions in junior college administration. I'm not going to outline the details of this. Suffice it to say that it includes work-in courses in administration, work-in courses in the higher education with particular emphasis on the junior college. As a part of this program, we have an internship plan in which this year we have interns on 5 junior college campuses. We likewise, under grants from the foundation, have a group of fellowships which are helping students, make it possible for students to study. Second, in our program we have an advisory council consisting of the presidents of junior colleges in Southern California. The spirit and activity of the advisory council is somewhat similar to that of advisory councils that in our junior colleges work on the curriculum, particularly in terminal and technical fields. I want to say that in my entire professional experience, I have never worked with a group of men who've been more devoted and constructively helpful to a university program than the presidents of Southern California junior colleges have to this program. Third, we have a series of summer workshops for junior college administrators, the 4th of which will open on the 17th of June this summer, and we'll have in attendance junior college administrators from 6 states and from Canada. Fourth, we have a series of conferences which are planned to assist and advance junior college administration. Just today, under the leadership of Professor Hendricks, we've had on this campus more than 70 representatives of more than 30 junior colleges for an all-day conference on institutional research in the junior college. And I want to remark that Dr. James Nelson of our doctoral association has taken leadership both in the field of institutional research and in this conference. Fifth, we have on campus, developed under the leadership of Professor Kinzer, a laboratory in junior college administration, which I think has achieved recognition as the outstanding collection of its sort in the country. Today at our conference, we were told that there are over 3,000 reports of studies of institutional research alone in the laboratory. Sixth, we have a series of publications which reflect the type of work that's going on in the program and which have been distributed within the state and nationally. The two most recent publications, one I hold in my hand, Establishing Junior Colleges, a report of a 3-day national conference last summer at which we had representatives from Hawaii to New York and from the state of Washington to Key West, Florida. A second publication within the last 6 weeks is a report of a study entitled Islands of Innovation, which is a report of an exploratory study which we've had assistance from the Fund for the Advancement of Education in studying new developments in the frontiers of instruction in the junior college, very much in the spirit that we've heard from Dr. Ferris this afternoon. In front of you here is an exhibit arranged by Dr. Wellman, which gives the covers of some of our publications. Standing, some of us are talking at the moment, in the world hotbed of junior colleges. California has approximately half of the total junior college student enrollment of the country, counting full-time and half-time. Southern California has 2/3 of the California enrollment. I've just returned from conferences in Florida, Minnesota, Illinois, Missouri, and North Carolina, and I want to say that all over the country, the California pattern of junior colleges is receiving recognition and is about to receive and is beginning to receive emulation. We are delighted here at UCLA to be a part of this movement and to receive financial support and help from the Ford Foundation, from the Kellogg Foundation, from the University of California, the School of Education, its administration and staff, and from the junior colleges of Southern California through the Advisory Council, and also, I might say, from the American Association of Junior Colleges, which this summer is again joining us in the sponsoring of a national summer conference on new directions of instruction for the junior college. Thank you.
I've never seen it like this, ending right on the moment. So let me not only thank our participants, but congratulate them on serving our interests so well. Our next event is a social hour. It is to be in the Alumni Center, Kirchhoff, but to make this purely social, may I please let me present our 4 newest members who are here, and let's at least be sociable with them in part. Lois Nelson, would you stand, please? This is Dr. Lois Nelson. Dr. Bob Wakefield. Dr. Wakefield, I hope you live here. Is Dr. Burroughs here? Franklin Burroughs? And Louis Kohler, Dr. Kohler. I hope they'll join us later. Are you here? Thank you very much.